Yo, what is up, guys? So we're here to talk about the Element Sabers, or the Elemental Sabers, whatever they decide to change the name to in the TCG. But apparently this card just hit $100, and it's been a while since we had like a really solid like $100 card. And I don't know if it's a buyout or what, but anyways, shoutouts to House of Champions. He does these market watch videos, and I tune in from time to time. I haven't vended in a while, but like it really has been a while since we had like a $100 card that was. When I remember, this card was not a $100 card, but it could be because of the ban list. But yeah, again, shout out to the House of Champions. He's the first guy that I saw like made the video talking about this card hitting $100. Yo, I think I got a couple of these, so I'm basically retiring. But anyways, let me go ahead and showcase some replays of the new Element Sabers, because there are newer cards that just got announced, and people already been playing with them. Shoutouts to Gotham for these plays. Now, first off, the other guys playing Gaga's completely irrelevant deck, I understand. However, we're really here to showcase off the Element Sabers with their new card, Molehue, as well as, oh, there's another, like, girl that has the effect that special summons one. But really, a lot of these smaller monsters in the archetype really just let you cycle through your cards. And what it does is it lets you set up your graveyard for potential plays. They don't really have, like, a really strong effect on the field, but Molehue kind of changes that, because as a quick effect, you're able to actually put something face down, so that can make it so your opponent has to waste their resources. And even though he has Regeki, this card is like kind of like a tower. That is the Willard in the archetype. Technically, Moulin Glacier might be getting some hype also because Mermails. I mean, they got a list change in the OG for the January updated Forbidden list. However, we don't know if we're going to get that in the TCG. And also, if the TCG decides to hit like all the decks that are considered tier 1 right now, this deck actually has a lot of potential. And then if the deck gets any more support, the deck isn't bad at all. Definitely has a lot more potential, because the deck can go for an easy first turn Glacier. I mean, so many of the cards in the archetype search out, and you can see he's manipulating the elements in the graveyard. Wind, water, fire, earth. You go ahead and do that. But we got Glacier. Again, I know this is Gaga, so it's kind of irrelevant, but for the most part, I wanted to just showcase how powerful this deck is. I mean, you have the Force Orage, which Raigekis your opponent, and you can get rid of all their cards. Like, the deck definitely does have a ton of options for, like, the right scenario. And, again, the Molehue actually really helps out with the deck, because, again, a lot of times in this deck, you invest your play into setting up the elements, and then you go summon boss monster, whether it's Force Orage or whatever. But if your opponent has any answer to like that one card, you could just kind of lose. And again, the newer card kind of helps out with that. So I feel like the deck is definitely getting some hype because of, again, some of the new stuff that just got announced. Because I wasn't keeping a track of Moulin Glacier for the past, like, you know, months at a time. I don't think it just shot up like a while back ago. It just wouldn't make any sense. Like, this is really new. This is actually a really hyped duel between Gotham's and Your Name over here. Actually, I think Your Name is the default. In fact, when I was playing before, I think my name was actually Your Name. But this is actually a pretty good duel between Trickstars and, again, the Element Sabers. Now, I'll go over the effects of the new guys that just got announced. The new cards that came out are Aina, Nailu, and the Molehue. Molehue is, I think, what like really helps out with the deck. But anyways, so we'll go over their effect while we're just watching this, because I'm sure a lot of you guys know how Trickstars play. They want to get rid of everything, but I'm not going to mouse over them. So Nailu over here, once per turn you can send one Element Saber monster from your hand to the graveyard and target an Element Saber or Elemental Lord monster in the graveyard except for itself and add it to your hand. So again, a lot of them, they have this ability to cycle through things, but they just don't have like a really powerful effect on their own. The smaller monsters, that is. And then also they got Aina, which actually helps out Molehue as well. So once per turn, you get to send one Element Saber monster from your hand to the graveyard, then target one Element Saber or Elemental Lord monster in your graveyard except for Aina and special summon, ignoring its summoning conditions. That's insane. That opens up the doors for this deck to actually be more viable to do other things. And it says, and obviously it has that effect for once per turn if this card's in your graveyard, you can change it. So, again, this really helps out with Molehue, and technically this deck has more options now because it's incorporating more link summons. So what I'm thinking is you could just, couldn't you just go, Aina into Aina into Aina, like, you know how you Lumina? Like, you could just make other things. You can, you know, remove cards out of the graveyard, because it's not only able to change the element in the graveyard, but sometimes you want to actually get a card out of the grave. Maybe you're playing, you know, another card that you just need for whatever reason, a set amount of things in the graveyard. But again, I really like this card. Molehue definitely adds some consistency to the deck as far as those turn 1 plays. Because Element Sabers, sometimes you can brick. It can be a thing. However, this guy was almost top decking at this point, but at this point he still has the Temple of Elemental Lords, which is a fantastic card. He's going to go ahead and some Willard. Willard then goes ahead and has that Towers effect. Force Raj gets the Raigeki. I think this deck is not just hype. I think it definitely has a little bit of potential. Will it be the best deck? It all really depends on the next January list that we get. That's at least how I feel. Let me know you guys' thoughts. I'll also give you guys the deck profile in case you guys want it, the build that Gotham is playing. But I want to say this deck it has a lot of potential. It's not, I don't think it's like a bad deck at all, and the guy just ends up saying GG. That was a really good game though. Like, I didn't expect it to go on that long with Trickstars. Usually that deck is a very gimmicky deck. Interesting enough, Spirits. This guy actually makes a few good plays. I know that this duel does have Grinder Golem, but let's be honest guys, every deck is pretty much playing. Is this Spirit guy playing Grinder Golem too? Let's be honest, you guys don't see it, but it's there. But realistically, like, every deck is going to be playing Grinder Golem, guys. Any, like, real competitive deck is probably going to be playing this card. It's just way too good right now. It could definitely stop in the future, but, like, it just sets up your graveyard super, super hard. I mean, at this point, he's got so many darks he can throw in, like, Blackluster Soldier, like, he's ready to go, man. But, anyways, he's buffed up some of the monsters. Again, going back to my point earlier, it's like, there's not a good small monster that the deck really has to really do anything. And Makini over here, had he had the card to flip something face down, yeah, that would have been good. He would have stopped a lot of these potential plays. Again, the new guy is pretty good. Naylu's okay too, but I really feel like the card, I guess Aina technically can bring out whatever, so at that point, well, you got options for the deck. But I really feel like this card makes the deck just so much better. Again, it's just because if they happen to have something, you can answer the threat rather than just playing like Raigeki, because you already have Raigeki in the deck. That's the Araj. I'm not trying to find it over here. But yeah, Araj, here we go. So yeah, Force Araj. You already have, like, most of the Elemental Lords are cards that are on the ban list anyways, but we got the Aina over here. So with no monsters left on the field, it's going to be GG. So for those of you guys that do want the deck profile, and again, I want your guys' thoughts on it. I didn't even get a chance to play this, because I legit was going to record some stuff later this weekend with this, but they already released it, and people already said it in replay, so shoutouts to you, Gothams. You built a pretty cool deck. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just pretty much like the core of the Element Sabers. I'm not sure about Windrose, though, honestly. I'm not really a fan of this card, never really was a fan of this card, just because most of the back row is going to stop you from getting out your monsters in the first place, but it has a little bit of potential against, you know, some of the Pendulum decks. If they happen to have stuff on board, maybe, you know, you can get some good value out of it, especially since you can just, like, Moulin Glacier them. But anyways, let's go ahead and go over the deck profile, and shoutouts, and thanks again, Gothams, appreciate it, man, and shoutouts to you, once again, House Champion, because I had no idea that those cards sitting in my closet are actually worth something now. Because I honestly would have guessed this card was like $5-10 bucks. I haven't been keeping up with Market Watch at all. But anyways, Grinder Golem, triple. Every deck plays like triple. Let's be honest here. We got one Moulin Glacier, one Pyrorex, one Wind Rose. 3 copies, or I'm sorry, 1 copy of Force Araj. Technically, with some of these other cards, Naylu lets you re-add the cards. So a lot of these cards, I have seen some builds. In fact, we even were showcasing off builds that were playing Triple Glacia. So I want to say now, like, since you can recycle I mean, you can search out the cards anyways. You could, unless it gets like banished, because this only adds it from the graveyard. For the most part, you should be okay with playing like 1 copies of each. But you guys can let me know what your thoughts are on that. I know it can be good for consistency, but anyways. 1 Glacia, 1 Pyrorex, 1 Windrose, 1 Force of Raj, which is like the Raigeki. And this one gets rid of, oh, I maybe should go over the effects of like the other Elemental Lords. So Pyrorex is kind of like a Ring of Destruction, but it's players take half damage equal to the original attack of 1 monster. When it's special summon, you target 1 monster your opponent controls, you destroy it, and then both players take damage equal to half of the original attack. And this card's actually pretty interesting because technically it can work with, hey, that card that has a decent amount of attack that you probably don't want your opponent to have. That's actually pretty cool. That you have like an easy way to get rid of Grinder Golem and then just go like for like game. But then, where is it? And then it has like that effect where if it leaves the field, you skip the battle phase of your next turn. Next up, we have the Forcer Roach, which is like the Regeki. We have 3 copies of Willard, which is basically like towers, if you will. It depends on what elements you're using. So it can technically not be destroyed by battle, by card effects, and not be targeted. But most people usually go for the they can't be destroyed by card effects and cannot target it. The whole destroyed by battle, not the strongest thing because you're gonna have monsters already when you go for your plays. So usually the card will have decent stats anyways for like damage. So I don't think it's that necessary. Next up, we're playing 2 copies of the new card Molyneux, 2 copies of Rapawaira, 2 copies of Malo, 2 copies of Nelu, 3 copies of Makini. Makini is really key. This one is just you send 1 and then you get to add 1 element saber. So this like searches out whatever you want in the entire deck. This card's absolutely insane. And then 3 copies of Hyena, which basically is whatever you want because you can cycle through the deck like crazy. So like before, like you saw in one of the plays, like he ended his turn with just Makini, but like now you can go for it, like let's say like Hyena, and if you happen to have the cards, obviously, like, you know, it depends on your hand, but like it lets you just go into something else other than just like leaving these on board because these don't have like the greatest stats. So you can maybe make something else to, you know, further combo next turn if your opponent doesn't get rid of it, or just to make something else because again they're a little bit mediocre on board from just like themselves, with the exception of Molyneux because, like I said, as a quick effect, you can just target face up monster, change it face down. You do have to go -1 kind of for it, but yeah, that's just the way it works. Next up, though, we got Regeki. We got 3 copies of Extra Grinder Golem, 2 copies of Pot of Desires, 2 copies of Terraforming, 1 Set Rotational, 1 Oracle Zephyra, 3 copies of Temple of Elemental Lords, and 3 copies of Element Trading. So this card makes so they cannot target Temple of the Elemental Lords you control with card effects. So basically it protects this card. And then also, I cannot be sure about card effects. And then once per turn, you can tribute a monster to special summon 1 element saber monster from your deck with a different original attribute from that monster's. And then also you can send this face-up card to the graveyard, discard your entire hand, then add elemental lord monsters from your graveyard to your hand equal to the number of cards you discard. So this really sets you up for like any of your boss monsters. Really, really, really good stuff over here. It's almost like Beckoning Light, if any of you guys played Lightsworn. Kind of cool. It also can protect your cards, so that's double utility. For the extra deck, which I definitely think can be optimized in this, we're playing a double Skulldie, triple Firewall. It's just a different artwork. I know that it looks a little bit different. It's just the artwork. 3 Akashic, double Security, double Link Spider, and triple Link Kariba. Heck, I was thinking about throwing in like some of the Chaos monsters. I mean, these can always manipulate their elements anyways. I just think Black Hole Soldiers is a fantastic card. Like, you have real easy access to it. I mean, basically 1 Grinder Golem gives you all of the access you need for your Chaos monsters, but I don't know. I think there's a little bit of play with this deck, and I definitely think it's not all hyped. You know, the card is $100, but I feel like it's not going to hold the value. Keep in mind, I mean, sometimes people watch these like a day or 2 later, and the prices of cards do, like, you know, jump up and down. I feel like this one just spiked up. Is it going to stay there? You guys let me know. Like I said, I feel like $100 is way too much for this. Unless Mermail's like, yo, triple Dragoons, triple everything, and then this deck gets, and for whatever reason, this gets, like, no reprint, and there's a new water deck coming out, then maybe you could stay at 100, but I'm pretty sure it's going to go down to, like, 30-ish. It just seems way too high, but maybe, I don't know. I honestly have been out of the market watch game for a while, but this has been, you know, a really cool thing to see, especially because, you know, I have the card. That's why I'm hyped up about Glacier going to 100. Is it all hype though? That's the real question I want to ask you guys that are watching. Like I said, I gave you guys my thoughts, which are basically, I think the deck is good. It's got a lot of potential. It really just comes down to what we get on the ban list. But I think Element Sabers are definitely not a terrible deck. It's no ice barriers. But no, I think it can be a deck that can definitely win some tournaments. It all depends, again, on the ban list. But that's just kind of how cards shoot up in price. It all is usually around the ban list date. But the deck isn't bad at all. So let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Thanks for watching. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button for more new fresh Yu-Gi-Oh content.